Your doorbell camera might just catch your package thief. But what if it gets you wrapped up in a lawsuit instead? They record everything, and that means potential privacy violations, civil liability, and even just getting dragged into somebody else's lawsuit. So today I'm going to talk to you about some of the thorny legal issues that your doorbell camera could pull you into. My name is Shaunik, rhymes with Sonic, and I've been a plaintiff's litigator for almost 10 years. That means I represent people, usually against corporations or government entities, and I love the law. I love using it to fight for people every single day. And today I'm going to talk to you about 3 different legal areas that are implicated by your doorbell camera. The first is what you set that camera up to record and how it may implicate somebody else's privacy rights. The second is about what you do with the footage when you post it or repost it and how that could implicate somebody's rights. And the third is about footage that you may capture that may be relating to somebody else's lawsuit or criminal prosecution and how that could make you a potential witness in a different case. Every jurisdiction has laws in place that protect your privacy. Now, these can be constitutional protections like the Fourth Amendment that protect your privacy from intrusions by the government, or they may be statutes that are enacted to protect your privacy from other people. And while those laws, like all laws, vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, they generally turn on reasonable expectation of privacy, which is to say, if somebody has a reasonable expectation of privacy in a particular circumstance, then those laws may very well likely protect that privacy. So if you set up your doorbell camera or any surveillance camera in a place where it looks into your neighbor's backyard or through a window or a skylight, a place where they would have an expectation of privacy in their home or their backyard, and you can't really see that place from the main road or a public area, then you may well be violating their privacy, and there could be laws in place in your state that could penalize you for that or hold you liable. Think about it this way. If you had a pool in your backyard and one of your neighbor's doorbell cameras was catching a portion of that pool, and you had kids and your kids had friends over, how would you feel about them being captured by that camera? How would their friends' parents feel about that? And that's why there are laws in place in a lot of states that protect the identities of minors, especially if they're in a private space, from being recorded and captured by somebody else. You could also get into a thorny situation if your doorbell camera captures a conversation between 2 people in what they believe is a private moment. California, like a couple of other states, is a 2-party consent state. That means that if you are capturing a conversation between 2 people and they have a reasonable expectation of privacy, then you could be civilly and criminally liable. There may be no reasonable expectation of privacy if they ring the doorbell and you're not home and there's that automated message that says you're not there and that it's recording, and they start having a conversation that makes it obvious that they know they're being recorded. Well, there would be no expectation of privacy there, and you probably wouldn't have anything to worry about. But if your doorbell is placed in sort of an angle that captures something in somebody else's yard or in another place that isn't directly on your property, and there are 2 people in your neighbor's backyard having a private conversation that gets captured, well, maybe they did have a reasonable expectation of privacy. And maybe by capturing that and storing that audio and video, you have violated some law. What you do with the footage you capture can also be problematic. We've seen all of those videos on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook about people catching package thieves from their doorbell cameras, or even people who post videos of irate neighbors who come and yell at them through the doorbell camera, and they sort of get mocked and ridiculed all over social media. There is a real understandable satisfaction that people have from posting videos they capture of people acting poorly, because it brings a sense of actions have consequences. But even that action of posting those bad acts can have consequences. Say you record somebody taking a package from your front door, and you post it on your Ring doorbell network or another social network, and that person gets identified like that. And people are all over it. They find out who he is. They report to his job. He is labeled a package thief. He's found out and called out publicly. What if it was just a wrong address? And what if he didn't take anything at all? He's gotten fired. He's gotten publicly ridiculed. He's gotten called out and shamed. His reputation has been damaged. A lot of huge reputational harm can happen to people in like no time at all because of the reach and the speed of social media these days. Even when people are wrong, it doesn't really matter. There is no remediating once that harm has been done. And so if people aren't careful in what they share and how quickly they share it and what they say and what judgments they make, then there could be some potential liability. Defamation, false light, claims where somebody is painted in a bad light, where misleading or false things are said about them, and as a result, they suffer reputational harm. These are real legal claims that can be brought in court. There's also doxxing, which has become very common nowadays, which is where somebody's personally identifiable information is published online. That means their name, their online username, their address, their picture, anything that can be used to identify them. If that information is posted online and the intent of that posting is to cause bullying or harassment by third parties, that could be a claim. Most jurisdictions don't have a specific doxing claim. Doxing is a relatively new phenomenon, at least the speed and effectiveness to which people dox today. But usually those are brought under like civil rights statutes. In California, however, doxing is its own statute. The key takeaway is be careful about what you post online about other people, especially if you have footage of them that could identify who they are. You may not have done anything wrong, and your doorbell camera could still drag you into somebody else's lawsuit. Who could possibly want my doorbell camera footage, you may ask? Everybody. Personal injury attorneys, police, family law attorneys, insurance companies, whether it's a car accident, a slip and fall, a neighbor dispute, a custody dispute, a crime that was committed, your camera may have captured something. And because of that, somebody may come knocking at your door and asking if they can see your camera footage. I'll tell you a quick story of where I did that. I had a case, a client who was hit head on by a wrong way driver in a horrific car collision. And it happened in this sort of intersection of commercial and residential streets. There was like a 3 or 4 block radius where the circumstances leading up to the collision happened. And I was trying desperately to find any footage I could of what had happened, because it was going to be key to my case in showing liability. I spent 6 hours that day walking up and down all of the streets where the cars could have been coming down from, looking at shops and their surveillance footage, train station, and seeing if I could identify surveillance cameras that I could send public records requests for, and then going house to apartment to find out if there were any doorbell cameras facing the street, facing the intersection that could have captured what happened. I found one apartment that was overlooking the intersection where the collision had happened. And they had a doorbell camera. And it was just facing the street at an angle that might have captured something. And so I knocked on the door, and nobody was home. So I left them a note, left them my card, took down their house number and their apartment number, and I put that in my pocket, and I went back. I didn't hear back from them, and I was debating what to do when I got the police report, and it very clearly showed that my client was not at fault. And then I filed the lawsuit, and the other side accepted liability. So I didn't have to worry about it at all. But if it had been a key piece of evidence and the entire case would have turned on that, there are some steps I could have taken. I mean, one of the things I could have done if I had not been able to reach this person is I could have tried and subpoenaed it. And that's something that could happen to you if you have a doorbell camera that might capture something in a lawsuit or a criminal prosecution. You might get subpoenaed. A subpoena is basically something that you get that is authorized by the court that says there is this lawsuit going on, and you are required to turn over certain documents or give certain testimony in furtherance of this legal proceeding. The attorney could also try subpoenaing the company that holds the data from your recordings, but either way, those recordings might become a key piece of evidence. Now, if you turn over the footage, well, maybe you will have to testify in a deposition or at trial, at the very least, to authenticate that footage so that they know that that footage is the footage that was captured on your camera. You might have to say, yes, this is the footage that was captured on my camera. I pulled it from my app that is connected to my camera, and I sent it directly to this attorney to establish the chain of custody and that this is the same footage that was captured and that you didn't alter it in any way. most likely you're not going to have to testify. The parties should really agree, hey, we've looked at the footage, we've talked to the person whose doorbell camera it was, we will agree that this is authentic, that this is true and correct, and that it hasn't been altered. And then you wouldn't have to show up. But if they don't agree to that, then yeah, you might have to show up for a deposition or a trial to go under oath and swear to tell the truth under penalty of perjury, and then say, yes, this is the footage that was captured on my doorbell camera. I didn't alter it. It was the one that I pulled from the app and I sent directly to the lawyers to establish authentication and chain of custody. The bottom line is you get this camera because you want to protect yourself. You want to make sure that you have some surveillance of anybody who might be doing bad things around your home. And all of a sudden, you have all of these potential legal issues that could rope you into some legal processes, whether it's liability or just being a witness and having to go and testify at a trial. If that happens to you and you've got to go to a deposition or you've got to go to trial and you're wondering, what is this lawsuit process like anyway? Well, I've got a video just for you, which is all about what happens when somebody files a lawsuit. So check it out. You might find it interesting. Otherwise, thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you next time.